So what does today's historic meeting mean, and what can we expect next? Well, Atlantic Council President and CEO Fred Kempe and Andrea Kendall-Taylor, former Deputy National Intelligence Officer for Russia and Eurasia, both join me now. It's great to have you both. Fred, I'm going to kick this off with you. Ceasefire versus a big, broad peace deal. Do you need one to get to the other? And if not, is a trilateral agreement the next step in a move forward?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I was on the phone all weekend long with various European officials. Their phone lines were burning. There are two reasons why they came to Washington. One, they were really worried about the outcomes of Alaska and that they were going in the wrong direction. And the second was this glimmer of hope, glimmer of optimism around a security guarantee. So I wouldn't dismiss the need for a ceasefire. At some point, Putin has to stop killing people in Ukraine. But the real ace in the deck is the U.S. joining a European security guarantee for Ukraine, because if you can save your sovereignty, if you can save your independence, you can make some territorial compromises. But why make any territorial compromises if you're leaving yourself insecure and unsafe and you're going to be attacked thereafter? And so that's why you've seen something that the president himself said that the White House had never seen before, this bodyguard of European leaders around Ukrainian President Zelensky. It really was something that I certainly have never seen in my lifetime in the White House.
Yeah, and of course it seems assembled very quickly in terms of everybody coming to Washington and being here bright and early on Monday, midday. Andrea, I want to get your thoughts on this, specifically the security guarantee part of this. Are there other examples we could point to of what this would look like? What would you want to see?
Well, I mean, I think this, as Fred said, is really going to be the crux of it. And as Fred said, Ukraine cannot concede any territory unless they have a robust security guarantee. And it was very positive to hear President Trump say that he's willing to participate in a future security guarantee for Ukraine, because that really has been an open question. But the thing that worries me a lot is the devil will be in the details. And as you're suggesting, these security guarantees can take many different forms. And what I'm concerned about, or the thing that gives me pause about being overly optimistic that we're moving in the right direction, is that the Russian side has been quite clear that they're not willing to accept many of the parameters of a security guarantee that we think, that experts think, would keep Ukraine safe. So we have the Russian side saying that they're not willing to accept NATO or European troops on the ground in Ukraine. You have the Russian side saying they want very strict limits on the size of Ukraine's military and its defense industrial base. So there's a lot of things yet that we need to work through in order to be, I think, optimistic that we can get to a deal.
Fred, I want to ask you about something you've been writing about, and that is Europe's strategic moment, the fact that it's here, whether they like it or not. What do you mean by that? And how does all of this play out now when you see so much investment starting to finally move forward for things like defense spending on the continent?
Yeah, so look, you see the United States wavering in its security commitment to Europe overall in the Trump administration. You see Putin menacing. And so what I mean by strategic moment is Europe either has to stand up and fill the defense and security needs and responsibilities of its continent, or nobody else will, and they'll be left to others' decisions. Now, the problem at the moment is they don't have the military wherewithal, certainly not the heavy lift, certainly not the air defense, to be able to provide a security guarantee for Ukraine. So you need a bridge. And so this would be a perfect, I totally agree that one should be a little bit skeptical about how it's going to be very hard to get to security guarantee agreement, let alone to a territorial agreement. Those things are both going to be very difficult. But what's different is the last 2 weeks, we now have an opening we didn't have before to at least start working in that very, very difficult direction. But as the president said himself, and I thought this was just a great quote, by the way, Eamon Javers' coverage on this has just been steady and smart and terrific. But he said that the Europeans have to take on the brunt of the burden, but we're going to help. That's the solution. That the U.S. comes in to help, but the Europeans take on the brunt, and they have to take on more and more year after year. But the U.S. has to bridge to get them there. What can't happen is an abrupt departure of the United States, because Europe is not yet ready for its strategic moment completely. And so I think we can now build on 80 years of commitment of the United States to Europe. by providing this security guarantee for the Europes to take the lead, for Ukraine to survive, and then that would be really a truly historic occasion. But it's a far way off. We've got a long way to go for there. I talked to one White House official over the weekend. He said this is a marathon and not a sprint. And my one question is whether President Trump is in for a marathon. Sometimes he doesn't want solutions to take that long, but this one is going to take that long.
Yeah.